So now we got to this point where I'm happy with the shape. I like the way it looks. I've got my funky dimples and my unevenness in there. We want to move on to how to core this out. Now the one thing you need to remember about working with a solid foam puppet is that you still have to get your hand up inside of there and make this a functional puppet. Natural tendency that most people have is to cut a hole straight in the bottom. You know, they're putting their hand like this. You're never puppeteering in this position, or not. It's not a good position to puppeteer in. Remember what we talked about in the first class too, was your natural, the natural angle of your arm, basically, is that when you're puppeteering. You want to follow that. So you don't want to try to put the hole directly in your puppet and have to puppeteer it like this. It's going to be very uncomfortable, very awkward. So you want to look, hold your puppet up to a mirror or just hold it up and eyeball it and see where your hand lines up with the mouth of the puppet and where the natural access point for that character is. In this case, it's back here. No, I need to keep one of those, sorry. All right, so we want that natural, that angle, so we want to look right where that wrist is, and that's our point on the back of the puppet. We want to mark that as our hole, where our hole's going to be. Now, I usually use a tape roll, just a regular masking tape or standard tape roll, because that center hole is a pretty good size to mark for where you want the entrance, the size of the entrance hole. Put it up against the puppet, set the puppet on there, look at it, make sure it looks pretty even. And then you want to check that again. You want to kind of mark that with a marker. And you want to use the smallest hole you possibly can to put your hand in. You don't want to make too large of a hole in the bottom of the puppet. Okay, so for this guy, his mouth lines up there, so my wrist should be right about there. So that's about right where I want it. Check these distances from the corner of the mouth. I use my hand a lot because it just fits. So the bottom of the mouth here, and it's about 4 fingers across. That's a good distance. Now I want to check the same thing on this one. And I could actually just rotate it, but same thing. And I'm about 4 fingers. So I'm equidistant from both sides. The front's probably going to be a little farther away because I want to sit back a little. So I'm going to grab a new Persona because I want a straight one for this first cut. All right, so the first cut we're going to go straight in. You don't want to angle too much because you don't want to cut in to the outer edge of your foam. You don't want to punch through it. But at the same time, you don't want to make a little cone because you're just going to keep hacking all of it away anyway. So let's see, we're over there. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just go straight in. And I want to start by cutting in as deep as I possibly can. So I'm going to kind of force this Persona in almost all the way. I mean, it's about 3/4 of the way in. And then I want to, same thing I did before, I'm kind of holding the blade and rotating the head around. Oops, and then I slipped and cut it. Be careful of that. Try not to do that I just did. We'll fix that later. Now we see where we're at. We've got a nice deep cut in there. So we want to get in there with the Persona blade again. And we want to try to cut about 1/4 of the way deeper. You don't want to go too deep again, but we want to get in deep enough that we're not just sitting here hacking away forever to clean the inside of this out. Now at this point we can, if you have enough thickness on top, you can get in here with your hands and you can use your fingers and you can actually pick this away and pull this plug out. If you don't have a lot of thickness in the top, don't try that because you do that and you're going to pull right through the top of your puppet. What I'll try to do then is I'll actually try to turn it inside out. And you can actually kind of squeeze this whole puppet and then get in there with your Persona blade and you want to trim around the edge as much as you can, and then you get a nice little plug out of it. Now save this too. This would be great for a nose or whatever you want to make later on. What I'll generally do at this point then I'm going to split the mouth open the rest of the way. So I'm going to pull this open, get in there with my Personna blade, and I'm going to get a nice deep cut all the way across and get this mouth opened up. And I want to cut about halfway back into the puppet. So this is about where we're at now. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a little mouth plate for this. So I'm going to draw my lines where I want my lip to end, and I'm going to start carving from inside the mouth back rather than trying to work all the way from the inside here. Now generally I want to come in about 3/4 of an inch to an inch inside the mouth when you mark it. I'm going to do that both on the top and the bottom. So now we've got this marked inside here. And we're going to get in here with the Personna blade. One thing I want to do is I want to give myself something to glue the mouth plate to. If I got in here with the Personna and just cut all this out, I'd have a perfectly flat wall and I'd have to glue against it. If you're gluing in a mouth plate, either rubber or wood or whatever you're using, actually I have a mouth plate right here. You can see that the thickness, it's very limited, it's very thin. That's not a lot of surface area. So what's going to happen is if you glue that in right up against there, eventually that's just going to tear off. So what I'll do inside of these guys is I'll give myself a little ledge. So the first cut I'm going to make, I'm only going to cut down about 1/4 of an inch or less into the foam. And then when I come around again, you see I can pull the lip back. I've got that little bit of a ledge. So I'm going to come across the back side now, and I'm going to cut in at an angle from the back and try to pull that piece out. And basically what I'm doing is I'm giving myself a little shelf all the way around just inside the lip line, so that when I glue my mouth plate down, I'm not just gluing down to the edge, I'm gluing down to that 1/4 inch along the bottom as well, so I get a nice secure bond inside that mouth. So now if you look inside of here, what you see is you've got this angle, this little channel cut. Now I'll take my blades and I'm going to go in about 1/4 inch from that line, and then I'm going to start to cut in and remove the foam from inside the head, from the mouth. So you pull this back, there you can see that. Let me see if I can show this to you. So if I pull this lip back, you can see the ledge here. And then this is all the extra foam that we're going to be cutting away. So you can start from the front, and you just need to be pretty careful in cutting crescents across. The other thing you can do too is you can go from this bottom hole inside, and you want to carve across the back basically a nice little deep channel, so that once you reach that point you're not digging any farther inside, and then just pull that piece out. So we're getting there. You can see it's really snug still, so we still got some work to do in pouring this out. Now's a great time to take that bent blade. And this is just taking your time, getting in here now, and just starting to clean this out so that your hand fits inside really well. There we go. That's pretty good. And where my thumb is, I have a really long thumb. I'm going to open that up a little bit as well to get in there. But that pretty much gives me all the movement I need. Gives me a good entry point in the back of the puppet, right there.